Hello there Scapers, my name is Xenavilius and welcome to my 8th Trim Completionist guide. This one is going to be regarding the Fish Flingers trim requirement, and the point of these guides is to show you the simplest way of getting these trim requirements done from the point of view of someone going for trims. So forget everything else, just focus on the trim requirement. And for Fish Flingers, there is a lot of stuff, a lot of complicated things you can consider which will boost your performance, and there are so many nuances to it which I didn't even realize until I was close to finishing my requirement, which I will try to either simplify as much as possible or leave out in the interest of time, but also in the interest of you guys not caring about it if you only want the trim requirement done. So Fish Flingers, it's one of my most favorite D&Ds for a variety of reasons, but what is the actual trim requirement? Well, you need to get something called a Champion's Tackle Box. This was actually quite a useful item for PVM back in the day when people could use the Bunny Special scrolls to eat extra food from these tackle boxes. But anyway, these are what it requires. You need 3,570 tokens. Overall, the actual Champion Tackle Box only requires 1,860 tokens, but you need to get the ones below it. There are 4 other ones you need to get before you can get that one. You need 500 medals, and medals are stuff that you accumulate and you never spend. Tokens you do spend though. So again, you need to reach different medal checkpoints to get the different tackle boxes before you get the champions one. And as for the time it's going to take you, well, each game cycle is 20 minutes, 10 minutes game time, 10 minutes waiting time. The tokens you can get per game is anywhere between about 30 if you have a fairly decent average run, and 46 if you have the perfect score of 48. So there are 3 things: medals, tokens and score. Score doesn't matter. Ignore it. It's for people who want to come first on the podium. What does matter is tokens and medals. That's what I'm going to be focusing on in this particular guide. And you can get up to 46 tokens a game, which is very hard to get, but 4 medals is very easy to get, and you need to be able to get 4 medals every game. And if you do get 4 medals every game, it will take you 125 games, or about 42 hours including waiting time, or 21 hours of actual Fish Flingers time. Now if you've saved up a lot of tickets are what you need to actually play Fish Flingers. You can set your timer on loop to every 20 minutes and set it to about a minute and a half before the game starts, and keep it on repeat to give yourself enough time to get to the game before it closes its doors, as it were. You want to be either doing what you're doing next to the fisherman who will teleport you, and I'll get onto that, or you want to teleport to get to that fisherman so that he can teleport you. Also, if you have access to Motherload More, the Fish Flingers Medal Enhancer is really good here. It's one of the best things you can get from Motherload More, along with the Castle Wars Enhancer, and it comes with 20 charges, or 10 if you convert an Unfocused Reward Enhancer, which can give you up to 80 or 40 extra medals per enhancer, which is a pretty crazy amount, seeing as you only need 500 in total for the trim requirement. Also, if you want to do this on the Fish Flingers Medal weekend, which tends to be the minigame weekend every year, then feel free to do it, because why not? +1 medal per game. Now tickets, well, there's a soft cap of 10, because if you do not do any fishing and you only collect tickets from the fisherman, you can only get 2 per day, up to 10, so save up for 5 days before it caps out. However, if you do fishing anywhere, then you have a chance of getting a ticket, and the hard cap is 15. So what you want to do is make sure that you are at 8 tickets every reset, so that you can get 2 more tickets on reset, and then whatever else you get from fishing. So spend all your tickets as quickly as you can so that you don't waste any past the soft or the hard cap. Now, medals. How do you get them? Well, you can get 4 medals per game. These are the different ways of getting them. I'll go through these in the walkthrough, but just have these in your mind as you go into the video, because these are the most important things. In fact, medals will be your restricting factor in terms of the number of games you have to play to get your goal done, because most likely you will get your token requirement first before your medal requirement, unless you have a medal enhancer. How do you get tokens though? Well, this is the main part. You can get a token for every 4 fish that you catch. You can catch a maximum of 164 fish, which equates to 41 tokens this way. But then you can also get 9 tokens from doing the medal stuff. So by getting the 4 medals, you automatically get 9 tokens, plus whatever else you get in the game from catching fish. So the two most important things in a fish flingers game is 1 to get all 4 medals and 2 to catch the most fish. Keep those two things in your mind as well as we go into this guide. And the maximum number of tokens you can get per game is 46. So if you get all 4 medals, which equates to 9 tokens, you will need to get 37 more tokens by fishing. So you'll need to catch 148 fish along with all the medals, or just catch 164 fish and get 5 tokens worth of medals. Another important thing is that you can only store 2k tokens in your storage, so you want to use up your tokens before you hit this cap, otherwise you will just waste your tokens. Right, here we go, fish flingers. Let's get started. So you can find a fisherman all around Gillinor. I'm not going to show you where. I'll put it in the description below. But the closest one's probably Drainer Village, using their glory. And this is basically fish flingers, guys. There are 4 different areas. You can check the map out to see what those are. You want to get a hint, and he's going to say something that will translate to something else. Now there are a number of combinations. Again, there are too many for me to list, so I'll put it in the description, or might be on screen. But this particular hint says that you don't need a special hook. A normal hook should catch them just fine. This is for cod at the lake. Now each of the 4 different areas, the docks, the lake, the river and the beach, has at least 1 type of species, and 4 will have 1, 2 will have 2. So the ones that have 2 may have 2 different species in there. And this is basically where you start. So I'm going to show you a solo game just so you can get a hang of how this works. You have 10 minutes, and the first thing I want to do is select the weight. I'm going to select 2. Select a hook. It doesn't matter what, unless you have the hint and you know what it will be. The simplest way to do this is to start at a weight of 2. And then you want to switch to a weight of 5 by adding 3. Now see how much your rating changes by. So let's have a look. Just wait a little bit to see when it updates. It's dropped by 16%. What does that mean? It means the new rating is very close to either the first rating or the second rating. In other words, because I dropped my rating, it's closer to my original rating of 2. The closest one to 2 is either 3, so let's try 3, or 1. Which one is it going to be? Well, I'm almost there with 3. It was indeed 3. So what I now need to look at is my hook. This isn't the best example because there's another thing you can do. When you get to 83% rating, it means you're almost there. All it takes is 1 change for you to figure out your perfect combination. So you want to look at, for example, hooks in the similar category. The similar category to a large hook is a double hook. Similar category to a standard hook is a slim hook. Similar category to a bone hook is a wooden hook. So I'm going to check out double hook, see if that's the one which gets me my perfect combination. Is it? If not, I will revert back to my original one. It seems that it was, guys, so it was indeed that. I didn't have a chance to look at my bait, but now that I've found one of the tackles for the docks, so look at your chat box, it says one of the tackles for the docks, which means docks have 2 species, 2 different tackles. Once you find the perfect tackle, you have a chance of hooking a big fish. You will need friends to help you with this, so I would recommend an FC for it. I've been using a really useful FC, which has been one of the most popular FCs in RuneScape. It's called 2 Fling Fish. I'll put details in the description below. They have an excellent guide, an excellent community. They even have a clan. So that is what I would recommend you should use when you're going for this requirement. And you won't be able to get the big fish medals unless you go with at least one other person. Ideally with a huge number of people, which is what the FC is useful for. What you will also notice is that my depletion level has gone to 2. As soon as it goes to 1, it means you need to move on. You don't want to stay in the same place, because if you do, you will catch fish at a much lower rate. So I'm going to move on to the lake, and I'm going to start the process again. So I'm currently at 33%, so let's try the weight thing again. So it went up by 16%, which means the new weight is either 4 or 6, the one that's closest to 5. So let me try 6. If it goes down, it means it's 4 for sure. No, it went up, so I've got the perfect weight. Moving on to the hooks, let's try a similar hook. Okay, it hasn't changed, so I need to try a different set. So let me try a different set, say the standard hook, and there I have it. Another thing you want to note is that once you find a perfect tackle, make a mental note of what that combination was, because no 2 places will have the same combination. In this particular game, I got the hint for the lake, the cod in the lake, and it said use a normal hook. I should have started with a normal hook anyway, without trying the other ones because I had the hint. But yeah, you've discovered the tackle for the lake. There is only one tackle for the lake, which means one of the remaining two has two tackles and one of them has one. Now the last thing you need to know is how to find the correct bait. This is a bit more complicated because there are a lot more options and the way it works is different. But let's start off now that I've found a completely wrong combination. My rating is at 0%, so when I find a perfect bait, my rating will go up to 33%. So there are two types of similarities, either the same shape, so crayfish and shrimp, or the same color, so crayfish and grey moth. So those are the two types of categories you have. You want to start with something that's completely different. So I'm going to select a cricket and see what that does. So that's increased it by 16%. This means that cricket is more along the right lines than crayfish was. So I want to look for something that's similar to cricket, either in color or in shape. So I'll look for shape. I'll select a locust, see if this increases or decreases it. It decreases it. So let me select something with the same color instead. And that worked. So the perfect bait was maggot. So that's the basic principle of how to do this. If it went in the wrong direction, well, you were looking at something completely wrong. So for example, if you'd chosen a green moth instead of a locust, then either it would have stayed at 0%, you can't really go below 0%, so it would have stayed at 0%, or it would have been wrong in a different way. So for example, you could have selected a grey moth, that would also have stayed at 0%. If you'd selected worms, well, that would have given you 16% because it was the same shape as the correct one, but it wasn't the same color. So if you selected worm, for example, that should give you 16%, and from that, you using the same logic, you would be able to deduct that either you choose shrimp or you choose maggot, and whichever one gives you the best percentage, that would be the right one. Now I've reached a depletion level of 2, so the casting rate is very slow. The resource depletes very quickly when you're soloing, so it's much better to go in a group if you want to AFK a lot more, also because the combinations are called out a lot. But now we're going to have a look at the reward section. Let's see what it shows you. So this is the reward, how it came number 1 with a score of 6. We're not worried about score, we're only worried about tokens and medals. I didn't get any medal because, well, I couldn't have got any big fish medals on my own, so I couldn't have got whopper or team player. I could have got junior or master angler by perfecting either 3 or 6 tackles. I didn't do any, so that was kind of bad. So all my tokens came from catching fish. I caught 87 fish, which rounded down is 21 fish tokens. So that's basically how it works. Now that I showed you how to do certain things, I'm going to show you the best strategies to go about it. Okay, there are 3 main strategies I'm going to be talking about. The first one is probably the one that everyone uses, most people use, should I say. It's going to give you somewhere around the region of 27 to 33 tokens per game. This is basically playing the game normally, finding all 6 tackles, and essentially doing nothing that I haven't really talked about already. So it will give you 4 medals a game, and depending on how well you do, how many fish you catch, you will need between 108 to 133 games to get the token requirement and 125 games to get the medal requirement without enhancers. The second strategy is one that I really enjoyed doing. It's called the quick casting method, and if you do it perfectly, you can get the maximum possible number of fish per game, which is 164, giving you 41 tokens per game. However, you don't have much of a chance of getting medals, so you're probably going to get 0 medals. 1 if you're lucky, 2 if you're really lucky, and even if you do get medals, it will be at the expense of tokens. And that will take you 88 games if you're just looking at tokens, and it could take you more than 250 if you only need medals. So this is for people who've already got medals or got a ton of enhancers, so they don't really need that many medals per game, and are willing to, forfeit those medals for extra tokens. C is probably the hardest one. I never really mastered it. It's doing the perfect game that I talked about earlier, where you max out your tokens as well as your medals at the same time, which is very, very difficult to do unless you're very good at this game. Okay, I'm going to begin by talking about strategy A, which should be a general template for all these strategies, because I'm going to be talking about how to actually go about a game, given what I mentioned earlier about how to find the perfect tackles and so on. If you want to use the FC, you want to call out the hints you get in the FC so that the people organizing it can work out the different combinations possible using everyone's hints. That will make everyone's life easier. It'll make it faster to get the tackles and so on. So as soon as the game starts, you obviously want to set your tackle to the correct combination depending on whatever hints have been given. And soon enough, someone should have found the right combination, the perfect combination, and they would have posted it in the FC. That someone happened to be me in this case. So what you want to do once you hit your first perfect tackle is camp it until you get your first big fish for yourself, your own big fish. You will get a message in the chat box saying you have hooked a big fish when it's your own, and people should help you out in order to help you haul it in. That should tick it off. Once you've completed it, there is at least a 1 minute cooldown before you have a chance of getting the next big fish. Therefore, this is the time when you want to get all of your assists in, or as many as you can. There can only be 8 people assisting someone at any one time. The more people assist someone, the faster it goes. And you want to click on cast as soon as you finish assisting, or as soon as you finish hauling your own fish, because otherwise your character will just stand there doing nothing. You don't want to cast every time. You just click cast once you get the perfect tackle. Stay there and then wait until either you want to assist someone or you get your own big fish. Just for clarification, you assist someone by clicking on the bubbles in the water, and it will give you a progress bar going up every 25%, but it's not very reliable. The way you know when you finished your big fish catch is when you do a little animation or you see a message in game all, not game filtered, but game all, and only then should you click cast. If you click cast too soon, you will let go of the big fish, and you don't want to do that because they are quite hard to come by, especially if you captured one yourself. So only click cast after you finished, so that you can go back to normal fish flingers fishing. Now I have 2 options here. You either follow the crowd until you get your 6 assists, or you just go and unlock all 6 perfect tackles as soon as they're called in the FC. So as you're running, you want to be switching your tackles to the correct one for the next spot and so on to save time. And as soon as you find a perfect tackle, move on to the next one. Again, remember that 2 of the 4 locations will have 2 different tackles to find. The other 2 will only have 1 to give a total of 6. One of the advantages to following the crowd, as it were, and not being with 1 or 2 other people on a given spot, is that when you get your second and third big fish for yourself, you want people to be able to help you out. If you're not around people, they can't really help you. So for this reason, I like to sort of stick around a few other people. And if you do want to be helped, obviously make sure you help others back. It will affect your score if you help people beyond your 6 assists, because you won't get any more benefits from that, but you want to be able to do that because you want them to do it back to you. It's just mutual respect, I suppose. If you're looking to AFK, then what you want to do is get all your big fish and all your assists, so 3 big fish for yourself and 6 assists done by the time you reach the beach, which is the last spot, and also all the tackles discovered. Once you do that, you can AFK the rest of the game at the beach or until the depletion level reaches 1. If it does reach 1, your catch rate will be reduced. I think it's halved or something, so you don't want that to happen because the number of tokens you get depends on the number of fish you get. So just finish off at the beach, and if it does go to depletion level 1, you want to go back to the river quickly. Again, switch your tackle while you're running and finish the game off that way. It should be a fairly decent game there. Strategy B involves you catching as many fish as possible without worrying about anything else. So get a combination together, go to the lake, and I mean the lake, not the docks, not anywhere else, the lake, and click cast. As soon as you see a fish being caught in your catch history, click on cast again. This is all about catching as many fish as you can, and that's why you need to click on cast as soon as you catch a previous fish to avoid that delay. If you don't do this, the normal method, which I showed you, would give you 13 fish per minute, and this method will give you up to 17. You don't want to get to 100% rating though, because if you do, you will get big fish, and that will slow you down a little bit. Unless, of course, you want to have those big fish and you want to waste a bit of time getting those 1 or 2 medals. Actually, it's just 1 medal, isn't it? But at the expense of your normal fish. So with this method, I got 39 tokens. You can get up to 41, like I said. I got 39. I wasn't quite perfect, but that's all I really wanted because I hit my medal cap. All I needed was tokens, so this was a great way of doing it. Had to expend a lot of attention and energy, but it was very repetitive. It didn't really involve complicated tasks. So yeah, and the reason you go to lake is that it almost never depletes, because not many people stay there for very long, so it's a great way of getting 41 tokens. And last but not least, in order to get the perfect number of tokens, which is 46, you need to combine strategies A and B. So yeah, it's pretty much as simple as that really, to get 46. This involves a lot of effort, and a lot of experience, a lot of skill to be honest, but also quite a bit of luck. So combining all those things will get you 46 tokens a game. The most I managed, like I mentioned, was 39 doing strategy B, 39 out of 41. When I tried strategy C, I failed so miserably at it that the most I got was 38, which is less than what I got for strategy B, 38 out of 46, which is less than 39 out of 41. So I haven't mentioned a lot of things like the heaviest fish, how to get the 48 score, which involves the heaviest fish, and the fishing XP you can get from this and all that. But if I did, then this video would be even longer than it is. So thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know if you have any questions, what you found useful, what you need a bit of clarification on, and any feedback you have. So I will see you in the next one.